Hi everyone, in this tutorial we're going to be working with bones and how to build rigs and do assign controllers to them and paint weights. First of all, I'm just going to go and import a model. I just imported a model using Softimage and exported to Max, and now I just imported in here. This is my model. And what I did actually, instead of doing the whole rig for the character, I just create a small portion of this character. So I cut this leg and I'm gonna start working to build bones on this leg. First of all, I can just go to the systems in here, okay, and work with bones, or just can use from here rendering, and I can go to bones. I'm sorry, animation, bones. Okay, so either this or the other, same thing. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna go to the left side where I can see the model better. So I'm gonna create a bone. I'm gonna start from the hip, from here, click. So I'm just gonna start with the thigh and then go to the knee. I'm just gonna give it a preferred angle, which is to make sure this leg's gonna bend thisward, and I'm gonna go into the ankle and then to the ball somewhere here, and then to the toe, and then I left up with the last bone, which is the effector, and this is my effector. So after I do this, I can check it up. Definitely it's gonna be drawn on the 0 axis. So I'm just gonna select my first bone and just move it in place. I'm gonna go to the bone edit mode. So now if I move this bone, it's just gonna move the position of the bone, and same thing in here. Just gonna place them in position. I'm just gonna put something like that. I think this should be okay, and definitely I can check it up from here to see if it is okay. I don't think it is, but it's fine. I guess it's fine. Okay, I'm just gonna give it more space for the toe, and I think this is perfect. And we can check this from here. I think it's good. Okay, so after I draw my bones, which is an easy task, I just gonna go and color my bones and give them name them. So I'm just gonna select my character. I'm just gonna press Alt X to go into X-ray mode, and just gonna go right click and gonna freeze my transformation or my selections. Okay, so in here I'm just gonna select all my bones, and I'm gonna make sure they're gonna be, let's say, red. Okay, and that's definitely, you can just color them whatever you want. There's always a color convention. If you can see a biped in here, it's always blue on the right and green on the left, actually on his right and on his left. So you can just obey to this rule, or you can just go whatever color you want. First of all, I'm gonna start naming my bones. So let's say I'm gonna start with the first bone. I'm gonna say BN, which is bone. That's gonna be my right or left. Let's say in this case is left, and then I'm gonna say, let's say, O1, which is gonna be up. Sometimes you can just name it. Let's say this is gonna be thigh. Okay, or whatever you want. You just choose your naming convention. So that's gonna be bone left leg O1. So I'm just gonna copy this, and I'm gonna go in here. Second one, that's gonna be bone left leg O2, and that's gonna be, just gonna copy it again. Okay, and that's gonna be a bone leg O3, and that's gonna be bone leg O4 instead of being bone 4. So I'm sure this is gonna be the leg, left leg. Okay, first bone, which is the thigh, the shin, the ball, the toe, and then the last gonna be a bone. I'm gonna say a bone effector, or just say effector left leg. That's it. I just have only one effector, so I don't need to number. That's gonna be it. Okay, Second, I'm just gonna go to the bones and give them some fins. I can go in here or just go in here. Same thing. Side fins, that's gonna be a bit too huge. Just gonna give it a bit of volume. Sometimes it will really help me up. And I'm not gonna go into the details of the bone. It's just, I can just make it a bit simple. Okay, and that's the back fin. I want just to give it a bit of volume. That's it, not more. Okay, so something like that. That's the fin for the first. I'm gonna select the other one, and I'm gonna add side fins. Definitely too big. Just gonna make them smaller. I'm gonna add the back fin, too big, make it smaller, and the front fin, too big, and just gonna make it smaller. So something like that. Same thing for the ball. Side fins, definitely too big, make them smaller. Front, make them smaller. Back fin, make it smaller. Okay, of course I can just work with the fins to be fitting more, but I think it's more than enough just to have a small so we can know the feet, how big it is. I think for the toe it's just doesn't really make sense. So I think this is good. I just want to make sure that my bone is right. I'm gonna go local. I think it's a bit twisted because I just moved it before. I'm just gonna go in here, bone edit, and I'm gonna make it go to 0, so I can just check in here if it's, I think it's fine now. Okay, so that's perfect. Second, I want to assign the controllers. So first of all, I'm gonna select the first bone, which is the thigh. That's applicable for the same thing actually for the arm. So the first bone, I'm gonna go to animation, IK solvers, I'm gonna go high solver. And from this bone up to this bone, which is gonna be linked in here, so to the ball bone. So click in here, and there you go. This is my my swivel, my chain, my IK chain. So now if I move my IK chain, it's gonna be something like that. Okay, I think it's a bit big. I'm just gonna make it smaller. I think now it's too small. Just gonna make it a bit bigger. I think that's more than enough. And I'm gonna give it a color which is light red. So I'm gonna stay in the same. Actually, I cannot change the color. So I'm just gonna move. So that's my IK chain. Okay, so that's the first step. Second step, I'm just gonna add controllers to move the feet. So I'm gonna go in here, go to the helpers, and I can use a dummy or a point. So I'm just gonna use a box, something like that. This is too big, make it something 1, it's good. And I wanna make sure that this is in place. I wanna make sure that the rotation of the pivot point in here is gonna be in the healing area. After we do this, I'm just gonna move my dummy, copy it 1 time, 2 times, and 3 times. I'm gonna use these dummies for different areas. That's gonna be for the heel area, which gonna make my feet tap. The second one's gonna be in here, so it's gonna make my bone go up and down. The third one is gonna be for the toe, that makes my feet basically move from the toe. And the fourth one, it's gonna be up on the IK solver, so it's gonna just move my model from here instead of the IK handle. So I'm just gonna go in here. I'm gonna select the first dummy, Shift A, and I'm gonna align it to the IK solver. I'm gonna select the second one. I'm gonna go Shift A, and I'm gonna align it to the toe in here, and the third one I'm gonna align it in here, actually in here. Okay, so now I have the 3 controllers. What I want to do, I just need this controller to be aligned to this bone because I need the pivot point of this dummy to be in here, but I need to orient constraint to this bone. I'm going to orient constraint this dummy, this bone actually, to this dummy. So what I want, I'm just going to press Alt A, okay, to go to align, and we're going to align this, but I don't want to align it on the position, so I'm going to keep the position here. I want to align it to the orientation to make sure same orientation. Same thing goes for this dummy, Alt A to this bone, and done. So now it's oriented position to the bone before or the bone after, and oriented rotation to the bone before. Same thing goes for these two only. Okay, the other two, they have to be remain on the XYZ, which is oriented to space. Okay, so now what I want to do, I want to start my my constraints. First of all, I'm just gonna go animation. I can go constraints, position constraint. So I'm gonna position constraint. Oops. I'm just select my swivel angle or my IK solver, animation, constraints, and position constraint. I'm gonna position constraint this controller to this dummy in here. That's the first thing. So now everything is good. So if I select my dummy and move, I can move my IK solver instead of selecting this. Second, I'm gonna select this bone, animation, constraints, orientation constraint, and I'm gonna orient it to this bone. Done. So now I can orient this in here. Third, I'm gonna select this, animation, constraints, orientation constraint to this bone. So everything is good. Now if I select this bone, I can orient this. So all is good. Now what I want to do, if this moves, okay, you can see the bone goes a bit in the opposite direction. What I want all the chain before to move up. So I need to fix my hierarchy. So that's gonna be the child. I'm gonna link it, this to the other bone, or actually to the other dummy. This dummy is gonna be linked to this, that's gonna be the parent of them, and that's gonna be a child for this heel. So that's gonna be the main parent. So if I want to move my leg up and down, I can move this. If I want to move my leg or my feet from the toe, I can do this. If I want to move my heel up, I can do this. Okay, and definitely if I want to move my my leg, my feet, I can just move this. And that's the first step. Actually, what I did now, actually I did my dummies, my controllers. Actually, they're not controllers; they're just dummy points. So they're gonna be reference. What I want to do, actually, I want to create my controller, my real controller. So I'm just gonna select rectangle, let's say, something like that. So that's gonna be my controller, and just wanna make sure that it's oriented. It's gonna be high enough so that if it hits the ground, that's gonna be on the 0. So after that, I want to make it visible. So enable in renderer, enable in viewport, and that's too big. Just gonna make it a bit smaller, and I'm gonna make the color to be light red. So that's gonna be my controller. Okay. So you can do whatever shape you want, and I think that's perfect for me. Second, what I want, actually, that's gonna be the main controller. That's gonna do everything. So now I'm gonna select this. I can just name it because that's the controller. It's gonna remain. So I'm gonna say left leg CTRL. So left leg controller. Okay, or I can just name it controller left leg. So if I want to search by controllers, I just press CTRL and I get all the controllers in my my scene. So now I just select this, and that's gonna be, if you can see, it rotates from here. What I wanted to rotate from the ankle, from here. So what I want to do first, just move my pivot point from here, and I'm gonna align it to this point. So that's done. So now I can move from here and I can rotate from here. So perfect. That's the first step. Second thing, I want to just align this, or actually I'm gonna link it first. So I'm gonna link this to the controller. So now everything is perfect. Now I can move my leg instead of the controllers, and I can just rotate. So now all my points are moving with the with the bones. So everything is perfect, so I can move my leg up in here and then maybe use this controller to make the heel go up, or just the toe or the heel or whatever, or also I can just select this and make it move. I'm just gonna go back to undo, and now we're back here. When I'm done, okay, I've did everything perfect. I'm just gonna select this controller, I'm gonna press Alt, right click, and I'm gonna freeze my transform. So it's gonna tell me that's gonna be frozen. I'm gonna say yes. So now what happens if I move my controller and rotate it, I can just press Alt, right click again, I can transform to 0 and it go back to this original location where I froze it. So everything should be frozen when the controller is done and ready to be moved. So this is for us for now. After we're done with that, I just want to clean up my scene. Okay, so I'm just gonna go unfroze all my stuff in here, and I'm gonna go to my layers tab. I'm just gonna create this layer. I'm gonna name it, let's say, mesh, and I'm gonna go for the bones. Let's say select this mesh, and I'm gonna hide it to make sure everything is perfect. I'm gonna select this bone, control page down, select them all, and those are gonna be my bones. So I'm gonna select those, gonna be bones, and those gonna be a new layer which gonna be hidden, I don't need. And the third thing, it's gonna be a layer which gonna say control CTRL. Everything is perfect. Now I'm just gonna unhide them all. So now I can just hide my controllers or my bones or my mesh or whatever I want. So when I want to animate, I'm just gonna keep my mesh on and my controllers on, and that's it. So I can see my mesh perfectly without the distraction of I'm not gonna get disturbed by the bones. So I'm just gonna unhide them all now. Okay, and we're ready for my controllers, which are the attribute holders. Now after I've done with my organization of this rig and controllers, I need to create a controller, which is this controller. I'm gonna be able to control all these dummies instead of going inside this dummy and rotate and move on and whatever. So I'm gonna select this controller. I'm gonna go to the modifier tab. As you can see, it has options, parameters. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go add a new modifier. It's called attribute holder. So which is in here. It's just a modifier that has nothing inside. So now I want to create my attributes. So first I can go just to animation, go to parameter editor or Alt-1 for shortcut. Go in here. That's gonna be my design face, only my design face, and then after I finish my design, I'm gonna link these tabs that I created with these dummies. So first of all, I'm just gonna create, for example, a string, okay, just a text. I'm gonna write, for example, left leg CTRL. That's it. I'm just gonna add, so this is it, left leg CTRL, and then after that in here maybe I can just put whatever I need. So now the second thing is gonna be, let's say, a float. I'm just gonna do several things. Okay, that's gonna be a float, a spinner, okay, or a slider. I can do both, whatever. Maybe slider is good, which is gonna be something like this to slide, or a spinner, it's gonna be something like this so I can spin up and down. Whatever makes you feel better. I'm gonna go a slider, let's say, in this case. Oops. Just put this up by mistake. Okay, so I'm gonna float. So I'm gonna just make sure that's gonna be, let's say, heel. So that's gonna be heel, and I'm not sure it's gonna be X. Okay, so I'm just gonna heel it X. That's it. I don't need more than that. So heel X. So that's gonna be the size width. You can see in here. I can see a demonstration in it. I want it to be small or big. I think it's right. I just want it to be, let's say 160 was it. I think it's more than enough. So the range is going to be from -180 to 180. I always like to prefer to give it a bigger range so that the animator if I'm animating, I have the chance to go more for exaggeration. So that's going to be the first one. I'm going to add, that's going to be heel X. I can do the heel Y and heel Z. In this case, I'm not going to do, I'm just going to do heel X, and I can just go and do the others. So I'm going to pause the video now, and I'm going to do the ball X and the toe X, and that's it. Okay, we're back. So what I did actually, I just created my controllers. So I did heel X, heel Z, ball X, toe X, and toe Z. What's going to happen, that's going to be my heel. So that's going to be heel X to do this animation, and that's going to be the heel Z to do this animation. That's going to be ball, and what I need in the ball, just the X. I don't need the other ones, so I don't need the leg to do this animation. And the third option, I need this controller, the toe X, and the same thing if I want to do the toe Z. Okay, so this is it. So what I want now, just going to select my controller again, and I need to link these controllers to respectively to these dummies. So I'm going to go right click in here on the controller. I'm going to go wire parameter. So I'm going to select first of all either the transforms or modified object. In this case, I'm going to go to the attribute holder. So that's going to be the modifier, attribute holder, custom attribute, and these are the same in here. So I'm going to start with heel X. I want to go and link to the heel point control. So that's going to be it. So I'm going to link the heel X into the transform position, rotation, and I'm going to go into rotation X in this case. So I'm going to go into my wiring parameter, so I can go heel X into rotation X. So I want the link to be, whenever I move the custom attribute, I want to move this. So that's going to be a link from left to right. And I'm going to go connect. Okay. So when I go connect, so now I can use my heel X, and you can see, just going to move it left and right. What's happening actually is something crazy going on. It's what I need to do is I want to change this from degrees to radians, and that should be much better. So I'm going to go update, and now it should be better. So the control is going to be much smoother. Okay, so perfect. I can go 180 degrees, and I can go 180 degrees. So I can, actually I'm not going to use much than this, okay, but sometimes maybe I need some exaggeration. So I have always the chance to do this. So I'm done with this. So I can go for the others. Let's say heel Z, I'm going to link it with heel Z, with the controller Z. So that's going to be the connection. Instead of connecting now, so I'm going to go degrees to radians. So connect, and that's going to be heel Z. So perfect. Whatever I want. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the ball, toe, and toe X and toe Z. I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to do the same thing again and again. Okay, we're back. So now what happened, I just finished my wired parameters. So I can have my heel X now in here. I can have my heel Z. I can have my ball X. I can have my toe X. And I can have my toe Z. Okay, so everything is perfect now. What I still need to do is a controller for the knee. So I'm just gonna create, I don't know, maybe a circle. Just gonna shift and drag this 90 degrees, and again 90 degrees on X, Y, and Z. So I'm gonna convert this to editable spline, and I'm gonna go attach the other several ones, and I'm gonna make sure this is gonna be light red. Snap to this angle in here, just gonna push it forward. So that's gonna be the controller for the knee. Now I'm gonna select the IK, just going to go to the motion tab. I'm going to go down something called swivel angle. That's going to be my swivel angle. So I need it to be 0. I'm gonna connect it, pick object or target, and that's gonna be my target. So done. Now I'm gonna select this, move it. So I'm gonna move my knee left or right. When I'm done, I'm just gonna select everything again, or maybe the controllers. Alt right click, freeze transform. So now everything's perfect. If I want to move my leg, I can just select my leg and move it, rotate it, do whatever I want in here, and maybe move my knee, let's say up, or maybe to the side or side. Okay, when I'm done, I can just select these two, alt right click, transform to 0, and I'm back to the normal position. That's it for the rigging and controllers for the feet. Now, next tutorial, we're gonna be working with my paint weights. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.